to a screen that was up on the side, I say, wall. And it was sort of like a TV screen, and he pressed some buttons and I guess flipped some switches. I wasn't paying too much attention to him. I was looking at the screen, and some stars in the sky appeared on there. And he put his finger up like this, and he said, "This is where we're from, watchman." And then he put his hand back down. He didn't say where, and he didn't say the name. He just pointed.
And now back to UFO, Fact or Fiction.
And now, Herbert Schirmer picks up where he left off a moment ago when he was telling us about being briefed by the commander of a flying saucer outside Ashland, Nebraska in December 1967.
The purpose that we're here is to get electricity. And there was another being standing a little distance away, and the man turned to him, and they both looked at each other, and he started depressing buttons. And he says, "Watch, watchman." And there was this antenna on the outside of the spacecraft which angled toward a power unit, and this bolt went out, a color I've never seen before in my life, and I don't even think I could describe it, went out and came back. And this stayed like this for about 3 minutes, and then it went off. And he turned and looked at me, and I felt as I was getting a very, very, an awful lot of roll of input of words that I couldn't understand. And he reached up and he touched me on the shoulder, and he felt real when he touched me, and I think at that time I did touch him, and he felt real to me. And he says, "Watchman, come with me." We walked back over to the exit, I'll say, where we came up, and the glass sheet came down again, and we went up into the third part of the craft, which was the observation deck, he said. As we stepped off, he said, "Watchman, come with me." And we walked over, and we were standing there looking out of a big plate glass window type thing. And there was a control panel right in front of it, and there were two chairs that looked like dentist chairs. You know, I've been to the dentist chair, but really a superstructure of a chair. Better than a dentist chair. We looked out the window, and I could see this one being walking back and forth by where my patrol car was. And I think I said, "Wow." And he didn't. He turned to me, and he said something I don't understand. And he said some more things that I didn't understand or couldn't make out. And I still don't. And then he pointed his hand toward the plate glass window, as I say, refer to the stars out there. And he says to me, "Watchman, one day you yourself will see the universe as I have." And he reached up and he touched me on the shoulder. Like this, you know, like grabbing you on the shoulder, like a man does, to steer you away. And he says, "Come with me, watchman." And then he stopped. And he said, "Watchman." And I turned around like this to look at him. And I felt I was getting more input of something that I couldn't understand. Then he says, "Watchman, come with me." We walked over, and we went down all the way out of the craft. As we got outside, this other being started walking back toward the spacecraft and boarded it. As we were walking toward my patrol car, And we stopped right by the patrol car, and I turned to look at him, and he was looking at me. And then again it felt like I was receiving an input of words of some kind that I couldn't understand. And he sort of lifted his hand, and then he turned and walked back to the spacecraft, floated up inside. This catwalk thing started spinning. The lights started flashing off and on. This red orangish glow came out from beneath it. It started lifting up in the air, and I guess it got about 100 feet high and just shot straight out of sight. Let me tell you, I was scared. I started feeling me again. When I was aboard the spacecraft, I had hardly no feeling at all. My body was tingling. I was perspiring. I was hot. I felt nauseated. I got back into the patrol car. I turned it around, and I headed back for the police station. On the way to the police station, at a high rate of speed, I tried to make communication with Wahoo Sheriff's Office, and it appeared the radio was dead. I got to the station. I jumped out of the car in a fast walked into the police station. And I noticed that the wall clock in the police station said 1 minute after 3 a.m. Well, I went directly to the bathroom. Not to go to the bathroom, but to drink water, because I was hot. And I walked back into the main room of the police station. We had a real small police station. It was about 20 by 20. And I sat there at the table, and I lit a cigarette, and I said, wow, what the hell happened? Something happened to me. Did I really see a flying saucer? Did this really happen to me? I looked at my report log, and I remembered through all the training and everything I went through that regardless of the nature or what it was, put it in your report book, because you just might need it. So I looked at my report book, and I got my pen out, and I wrote, at 2:30 a.m., December 3rd, 1967, I saw a UFO at junction 6 and 63, believe it or not.
Now, Herb Schirmer continues his fantastic story about being taken aboard a flying saucer on December 3rd, 1967.
About 6:30 that morning, a fellow officer came in, and I explained to him what happened to me. And the fellow officer says, I believe you, Herb. One time I was on my way to Wahoo, Nebraska, and I was driving down the road. I looked over. Lo and behold, there were 2 UFOs sitting in a field, and these little green men were out there walking around it, waving at me. I said, sure, Paul. And he says, I don't think you should tell anybody, Herb, because I don't think anybody's going to believe you. Matter of fact, you're going to lose your job if you tell the people. But I said, Paul, it's the truth. He said, well, a lot of people won't even accept the truth. I said, well, I'll wait for the chief. He says, no, I'll go on home. So I went home, and I really felt like everything was drained completely out of my body, and I laid down on the couch. And as I laid there, I started getting a buzzing feeling in my head. And it felt like I had pressure on my body. I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't, how you try to open up your mouth and you can't say help? I was trying to say help, And then I went off to sleep and the phone rang, and it was the chief. And the chief says, get your butt down to the station right now. What is this? You mean you've seen a UFO? I said, I don't feel good. I'm sick, and I'm not coming down to the police station. He said, I'll be right over. So the next thing, TV came in, press came in, newspapers, radio stations, and telephone calls started coming in. 2 days later, the ridicule started coming in. Believe me,